Hey team, welcome back. A little while ago, I reviewed a book called The Buzz by Tracy Izzard. Great book. And in there, she had a concept about her perspective about trust. And I really want to jump into today about unpacking trust and how you create trust, how you create those pathways, really zoning in there. So let's jump into it. Comfort zones and mindset all interfere with our ability to change, to grow, and to develop. The foundation of whether we will or we won't do something has at the core of it trust. When we're building team cultures of trust, every abstraction comes into play. Any excuse, we hear denial, justification, blame, anything possible to squirm away from responsibility, ownership, commitment, and ultimately accountability. We hear it. Oh, I'll never be able to do that. It wasn't meant. I didn't mean. I can't. All these denials. And then I'd be able to do it if. Well, that happened because. A few justifications there. Or, yes, but you, they, blame. People try to push away change. They listen to the words they use in their attempt to keep the status quo, to not change. Explore this more and we can unpack it as a need to be understood and to understand what's going on, to control. And because there may be doubt, ultimately there may be limitations in trust. I don't trust the process, or I don't trust my team, or in fact, I don't trust you. I reference Patrick Lencioni and Brené Brown and Simon Sinek a lot when I talk about trust. I really value the visual of the trust foundation in the triangle of Lencioni's book, 5 Dysfunctions of a Team. Recently in this book by Tracy Izzard, The Buzz, she gave us another pathway to look at trust, starting with safety. Feeling safe leads to trust. Do you have a culture that makes people feel safe so that they can begin to trust, and then when they can begin to trust, they can change? We know that when there are high levels of trust in a team, there are far higher levels of collaboration, exploration, innovation, problem solving, and not to mention happiness. So how do we work our way out of this? When we feel unsafe, our brains flood with cortisol and a whole lot of other things, and which means we are more likely to induce negative thoughts and push people to act in more passive-aggressive ways. Our behaviour turns to survival mode, and we often jump to less positive conclusions and, negative thinking. That's Tracy Izzard there on page 70. So how do we work our way out of this? Well, firstly, we acknowledge where your team are at and where you want to be. Number 2, begin working with transparency. 3, move from I thinking to we thinking. 4, lead with consistency and predictability. 5, talk, affirm, recognise. 6, work with quiet, care, and compassion. Number 7, set boundaries. Izzard gives us a 5-step pathway of key actions to trust building that may help. Firstly, discover. Ask questions to discover more about what your people think and how they see the world. Learn about them. Be genuinely curious to find out their opinions. Next, appreciate. Notice and talk with your colleagues about what you appreciate about them. Do you use a language of appreciation? Then, admit. Admit when you are wrong and how you've learnt or are learning from it. Be vulnerable first. Model it. Then we evolve. Get rid of blame and justification language. Jump back to Brené Brown here. When you speak with others, take responsibility for your actions and approaches. And finally, align. Just do what you say you're going to do. follow through. Trust is hard to build and something you can never achieve. Start with safety first. It takes focus, deliberate acts of dialogue, and leadership. It's a slow process and comes from you leading first. It's an ongoing focus and it's never done. But if you want to bring about change, start with safety, then trust. Go back to The Buzz, Creating a Thriving and Collaborative Staff Learning Culture. That's by Tracy Izard, 2015.